Is your last name really Johnson?
Yeah.
Your middle initial is an S, is it?
No, it's a B.
Because it would be funny if it was Tristan's Johnson.
Oh, that would be, wouldn't it?
It would. I stayed up all night to think of that joke. I really did.
Well played.
Thanks.
This week, round 52 of UV Gaming's The Losers Bracket, and a little bit of controversy has arisen in competitive gaming. We'll be talking about that very shortly. Guys, how are you all doing this week? Jerry, Ryan, pleasure to have you all.
Good to be here as always. Thank you, Jason.
Always a pleasure to be on the show.
Of course, of course. So this week we've got a guest on. You might have actually seen one of his videos that he just put up on YouTube. Goes by the name Sons of Justice there. Played recently in this GGL tournament, GameStop, huge prize pool, potential tournament prize fixing going on. Let's get some details from him. I'd like to introduce you to Doug, Sons of Justice. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, but of course, we're glad to have you here. So, give us a little bit of information about yourself first before we hop into this controversy. Tell everyone that's listening a little bit about you, what you play, background in competitive gaming, just a little bit about you.
I am 26, born and raised in Virginia, and been playing games for as long as I can remember. Started off online, I want to say, with COD2, and first started competitive gaming, I want to say, with game battles with COD 3. Nothing serious, just for fun with friends because they were doing it. And it was a good time. And then I think my next adventure probably was GameStop with World at War. And they had a competition at each store. And I made it all the way to the finals in San Diego and made it to the very final round. And I just didn't pull out the win. I want to say I got like 5th or 6th place. But it was really good times. And competitive gaming just overall so far has been good to me. Until recently.
Right, which leads me right into my next question. So, recently there's this big GGL event, a prize pool of around $30,000, and some shady activity has kind of been going on with this event that you have detailed in your video. For anyone that has not seen this, can you explain what exactly has happened with your team and what's got you upset?
Well, I guess to try and sum it up, it's a little tough, but I'll try. With GGL, there's an admin on there called Donald King. He goes by the alias Don King. And we just had a lot of trouble trying to contact him with some issues that we were having. And he really didn't care. We contacted him, I think, the first time because a team was trying to pretend that they were in the lobby when they weren't. And we couldn't get the forfeit. We couldn't get the win. That was just like our first bitter taste in our mouth. And I want to say that when there was a double rostering situation with two teams on the ladder, I contacted him and told him about it. And it specifically states for the rules that you cannot be on more than one team. If you play on more than one team, we will consider this ringing and you will likely be banned. So with this explicitly on the website, I emailed him and asked him, to get these guys out of the tournament, and he just responded with, "Oh, it's no big deal. They didn't do anything wrong." Well, what's the point of rules at that point?
Definitely have to agree with you there. I was pretty shocked when I saw some of the messages that were played in your video. And if you guys haven't heard it, I would definitely take a look at his video because he actually has some of the Xbox Live messages from other teams. And of course, Don King had sent him a message that said, "Hey, you guys can just figure it out on your own. I've deleted the forfeit win that you guys had, etc., etc." But also, one other thing, apparently I guess some of the teams had messaged you saying they would give you free wins to try to get you into the top 8 as well. That was because I guess they wanted to keep another really good team out of the top. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Those teams were the top guys on the ladder. And I, just call me naive, but I figured that the top teams were there for a reason. but apparently not. I want to say that I was contacted by Team Murda. I've got that in the video, got the evidence. Also AOX, Art of Execution. And they were just scared, literally scared, that they might have to face Team Fear in the top 8 qualifier to go to the finals. The top 8 would play in a bracket, and then the top 4 out of those 8 would be flown out to LA for the finals. And these guys, man, they were relentless with messaging me, sending me private messages or private chat invites. And I got into a room with Murda, Team Murda that is, and the two their top guys, their leaders, were really trying to sell me on trying to take these free wins from them. Luckily, or unfortunately, I should say, I didn't record that conversation, but they did send me voice messages, and I've got it all on tape. It's all on the video. So that's pretty much it, man. These guys were relentless on trying to knock out Team Fear and cheat their way to the top.
Doug, I really appreciate you making that video and sharing that story. I want to take the clock back, though, to the interactions you've had with one Donald King, who is the person listed on the GGL site. What kind of interaction? Have you only interacted with him from the site, or are there other admins or people from GGL that you've spoken to?
Yeah, he is the only one that was in charge of the tournament. There were no referees. There was no one else to talk to, no one else to go to for help. It shows on the main website under the ladder and by the rules section that he's the one to be contacted because he's the admin, and it shows his aim, email, and all that. And you just can't get a hold of him unless you're one of the top-seeded teams. I tried for 2 weeks to try and get a hold of this guy. I sent him emails, and he just would not respond. When I had this altercation with Scary Kids, and they got a response out of him within a few minutes, I could not believe it.
How do you know they got a response? Because they said so?
No, I know this because I looked on the website, and instead of a loss showing up on their record because they had to forfeit for not having their full 4 in the lobby to play the game on time, it wasn't there anymore. Their loss went from being there to just magically disappearing. So I tried aiming Don King on AIM because I figured maybe that's how they did it. And I did get in contact with him, and I was like, okay, what happened? These guys weren't ready to play, and you just deleted it. And he just pretty much didn't care. He took their word for it. Unluckily for me and my team, I stopped recording as soon as 3 other guys came into the lobby.
Let me play devil's advocate here. If I was running a tournament, forfeits are not good for a tournament. Even if I have rules, it's important that matches get played and there are no forfeits. Being new to competitive gaming in many ways, I can understand where rules are rules, they should be followed, and they would anywhere else. But there is a flexibility in esports, even though I'm not sure I agree with it, that happens at times. So for at least sake of this argument, he decided that he would rather see you guys play it out than have a forfeit win. Is that right?
Yep, you're absolutely right. And I would definitely side with your argument any other day. But the thing is, with the website, you have to put these match times in concrete. So we had matches every hour on the hour that night. So if we were to play Scary Kids behind schedule, even after all this bickering about the time and conflict and all that, if we would have played them, we would have fell behind our allotted schedule time, and then we, in turn, would have had to forfeit our 2 other games we had scheduled for that night.
Clearly not a site that is well run. That is clear. The question that then comes after that is, did you approach GGL about the effort teams made to give you forfeit wins?
No, I figured if I couldn't get in contact with Don King with a simple thing as trying to empty my challenge list, that he wouldn't really care much about what I have to say about this subject. I just left it as it is. And so what I did on my half was make this video and see if I could try and get enough viewers to see what's going on with GGL, and hopefully that would get him to contact me, and I have yet to hear from him at all.
When's the last time you contacted Don King, and what did you contact him about?
The last time me and Don King interacted, I want to say, was the situation we had with Scary Kids and the whole forfeit. We spoke on AIM, and he was pretty much just on their side. He really wasn't worried about what my team had to say. I begged him, I pleaded on AIM for him to come into a private chat, with both teams present, but he just said, no big deal. Just play tomorrow.
I have a very odd question to ask, a little bit off subject. How do you know that this is a GameStop tournament outside of the logo on the GGL site?
Well, it was actually marketed really, really strong by GameStop. I want to say a few weeks before Black Ops launched in November, they were already posting up banners and flyers about the GameStop tournament and how much prize money was there to be won, and that the finalists would be flown out to a destination that was yet to be determined at the time. And that was how we found out, me and my team. So we gathered ourselves together and we gave it our shot.
You found this out from GameStop or from GGL?
We heard about it from GameStop because they were promoting it in their stores.
Gotcha. Now, the first part was like a 1v1. They had a 1v1 tournament, right?
Yep, absolutely. That was the first leg of the tournament. It was the 1v1 in stores. There was no way of cheating. Unfortunately for us, you can get around a lot of things when you play online through Live or the PlayStation Network.
No, absolutely. So, looking at this, very much the sort of just person wanting to see a fair tournament, and you arrive at a point where you come to the realization that the rules in some of these competitive games don't really matter, and you come to find that other teams will try to fix the ladder to get rid of competition. Does that sound accurate as the two major things you've encountered?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
Let's talk a little bit more about the teams that approached you, who approached you, and what their argument was. Let's try to be as specific as possible. Who contacted you from which teams? So give me a name and the team they were on and what their argument was to get you to try to take the free wins they were offering.
The first person to contact me was 6 Feet Under, or the team, and the member was Frey Dog. I want to say that he, laid out this message, it's in text, and it seems pretty innocent. He's just reminding me that, there's a few hours left and I should try and make it to the top 8. So I thought nothing of it. Not too much later, I get a message from Art of Execution, and the member I received the message from was AOX Vibes. And in the message, he's saying, hey, Team Fear is ahead of you guys, but you're only a few wins behind. You should really think about getting some free wins from this team and that team. And I I lost count of how many teams he was naming, but it sounded like 3 or 4. He really just wanted us to take these free wins and pass Fear, so that way we would knock Fear out of the competition and the top teams wouldn't have to worry about him.
Who else contacted you besides him?
Besides AOX Vibes, I was contacted by 2 members of Team Murda. And the 2 members that I was contacted by were Dominic and Little Old Me. Man, they were really, really after me. They were sending me messages nonstop, party invites, every few seconds. So finally I go in there and we speak, and yeah, what they want clearly, and they say explicitly in the voicemails, is that they want me to take these free wins to knock out Team Fear. They want me in the top 8. So that way they got, a team that can barely keep up with them versus Team Fear, who could probably knock them out.
Well, I'm no fan of Team Fear. Well, really no fan of Moho because of his waistline, but I'm not going to disagree that he's a skilled Call of Duty player. That is without question. And this kind of thing, so this is the first time you'd ever experienced this kind of online cheating, correct?
Yeah, correct. I figured that everyone would play by the rules and we'd have no issues.
Oh, sir, you are naive.
Yeah, I guess I am.
But let's talk a little bit about where the event is right now. So you didn't take those wins, and now 8 teams are going to move on. I noticed the way they have it written on the site, 4 for Xbox, 4 for PS3. How is those finals supposed to run?
Yeah, so the way they had it split up was they'd have the 1v1s do their thing, and then they'd have the 4v4 domination guys from both Xbox and PS3. The top 4 teams from each platform will be flown out to LA, and also the winners, I really don't know the details on the 1v1, so I'm not going to speak out on them too much. But the top 4 from the Xbox ladder have already been chosen. I want to say the playoffs took place earlier this week. And the winners that are in the top 4 and going out are Team Murda, Scary Kids Scaring Kids, OE Gaming, which consists of 2 players from both Team Envious and Optic. And then the 4th team to make it to the finals is Team Fear.
And you played under 360, correct?
Yep, that's where we competed 360. The PS3 guys, they have their 4 that are going to be flown out, but I don't know much about them and if they had any issues with the ladder like we did.
What might be confusing to some is how it worked. Was the top 8 then in an online playoff from which they chose 4?
Yeah, the way it works is throughout the ladder, when it first started, when it originated, the rules were pretty much play as many games as you can. The most wins you get, the team with the most points at the end of the day, the top 4 with the most points would be flown out. But for some reason, I want to say sometime around the beginning of January, they changed the rules once again to a bracket playoff. And that bracket would consist of the 8 top teams. Team Fear joined the tournament really late, and they only had a few games, but with all the wins they had under their belt, they moved up the ladder fairly quickly. So right before this bracket playoff started, we were literally only 200 points behind them. And you get 100 points per win. So if you get a forfeit win, I think it's 80 points. So these teams, these top teams, were willing to group together and give us just the forfeit wins. So that way we would be ahead of Team Fear and be into 8th spot versus our 9th spot seeding at the time.
And you, being the just person that you are, did not take this. And Fear would go on to be in this top 8, and they would finish 4th, knocking out 4 teams, one of which was AOX, correct?
That is correct. And I did get a chance to speak with some of the members from Team Fear, and there was more drama with their match. Apparently, when Fear was facing AOX, they were, and by they I mean AOX, they started to IP flood Moho. And he, luckily for him, he was recording at the time it was all happening. You know, everything was fine at one point, and then bam, just he's losing connection. He's getting kicked out of the match. So the way this tournament was handled, you know, if referees could have been in the match, if they just could have been there to see what was going on, make sure everything was going fine, there never would have been issues like this.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, sometimes people complain about game battles and their referees, but my argument is at least they have referees and they have a training process in place. They don't always make the right call. No referee does, and some are young and don't behave in the most professional manners, but that's better than the vacuum that we currently have at GGL. The only team then to sort of advance that probably doesn't deserve to be there is Team Murda, correct?
Correct. You know, I have my ill feelings towards Scary Kids, but I mean, they never sent me a message explicitly saying, hey, we'll give you free wins. But yeah, Team Murda, absolutely. They sent me messages saying to take these free wins and cheat, and I couldn't do it.
Have you thought about taking all of this and sending it to Don King in an email and see what action he takes with the evidence?
No, I haven't. With his lack of interest that he had with my team, with the whole forfeit situation, you know, I didn't even think about it. I made this video for the other teams on the ladder that I figured were playing fair just like my team, and I made it for them to see, you know, what really was going on and probably why they didn't do so well. Granted, the top teams that are in the 4, like Team Murda, Scary Kids, they are good teams. You know, we played against, I want to say, Team Murda, and they just mopped the floor with us. You know, I have nothing against losing. As long as it's fair, as long as you give my team a chance to try, you know, there's no big deal. But for them to try and knock out Team Fear just kind of grinding my gears a little bit.
And absolutely, it should. I really think that you should probably present this all the information you have of trying to give you the free wins to kick out Team Fear.
Actually, to be honest, Doug, what we can do and what we're going to recommend you do is do absolutely that. And if you don't hear back from GGL within 72 hours, then you let us know, because I see at the bottom of that Mad Cats, NOS, Treyarch, Activision, GameStop. We have contacts in all those companies, and I'm quite certain that we could show this video evidence to people in all those companies and would eventually get to the right person. Now, politically speaking, they may want to wipe this under the carpet so they can say they had a successful event. But I think it's good to inform as many people as you can. I mean, I can say as VV Gaming, as a sponsor, you know, it's good for us to know the character of the players on AOX and Team Murda, so that if they ever approach us for a sponsorship and say, hey, we'd like to be sponsored by VVV, we might, have gone by their record, but at least now we know better. And I think that's good, because certainly don't want to be our brand associated with the kind of player who is afraid of competition or tries to hurt a competition. See, I'm not so much just upset at the fact that they want to give you free wins. What I am upset at is that they wanted to diminish the level of competition, and that hurts the tournament. Now, we've seen what Major League Gaming has done with Brawl when there was prize sharing going on, and I'm quite certain if these teams are going to compete at an MLG event, a lot of people are going to be watching them closely. Fortunately, they won't have the opportunity to IP flood or do anything like that, so it definitely will be a real test. Now that I think about it, that's dependent on the teams actually making it to an MLG event as a whole team. With some of these teams, you really don't know. Team Fear, of course, has traveled before. They'll be there, and we'll see for the rest. But one final question for you. How has this affected your opinion of competitive gaming?
I'd like to say that it hasn't bothered me at all, but to be quite honest, it's put a sour taste in my mouth and also for the rest of my team. When we decided to drop out of the tournament after Scary Kids pretty much scammed us of our win, I don't know, we've just really distanced ourselves from competitive gaming. To think about it, maybe we shouldn't, but with GGL and the way they treated us and the teams, we're just not too happy about it.
Well, fortunately, no one would consider GGL anymore anything of significance. And with Major League Gaming having Call of Duty on the pro circuit this year, we'll find out for sure here at the end of the month, but all things point to being on the PlayStation 3, and also for the 360 players, I think they will be allowing a 360 controller to ease the crossover. Don't expect there to be much crossover. And I know Sony has proposed a large prize pool for Call of Duty Black Ops for Major League Gaming. So if you are interested in competition, and it sounds like you are, I would not be so quick to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Not all competitive gamers are like the people you met on AOX and Team Murda, and obviously not everybody on the letter contacted you. Others didn't seem to be too afraid to play Team Fear, which is good. So any final shout-outs for you, Doug? Anybody you want to give a shout-out to, or anything you want to say before we let you go, sir?
Well, just play fair, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, we're gaming because we love it. It's our passion. So don't go out there and cheat and, get the win, because at the end of the day, was it really worth it? It feels so much better when you win it fair, and the other team really does appreciate it. Every time we lost, we didn't enjoy it, but we did appreciate the beatdown, and we took some strategies away from those teams. So play fair and just have fun.
I remember back when we were playing Graw on Game Battle Ladders. This is before VV Gaming. And that was common practice for people to try to fix the ladder when playoff times came around. And that was not for any money. And then, fast forward Gears of War, I remember when Infinity played for another team, recovered their account in an effort to knock the Insanes out and basically take away their seeding. So, I think this goes on. Maybe I'm numb to it, but sometimes it's really important and good reminder to see that, behavior like this can actually drive people away from competitive gaming.
It's unfortunate but true. And just from having Sons of Justice here on the show, you can tell he's intelligent, he's well-spoken, he has the passion to do this, but there's a chance that he might even, like, as he said, I believe the way he said it was that he had a sour taste in his mouth from this event. And I'd hate to see someone who has a good personality that would be good for competitive gaming be driven away by a shoddily run event such as what is going on with the GGL, or someone that potentially is crooked running an event like this. It's really unfortunate, really unfortunate.
Well, let's hope he takes our advice, and if he does, I would be very interested in having Donald King come on our show and give us the GGL perspective. It seems that obviously I can be sympathetic to somebody not wanting forfeit losses in a tournament. That totally makes sense to me. But Doug, Sons of Justice is not the only complaint I've heard from the GGL tournament. Clearly, and maybe GameStop has a long-term relationship with them, but they don't either have enough staff or have the level of attention a tournament of this caliber should have.
Completely true. I can't help but feel like the sponsors that are listed on this event are not getting their bang for their buck. And there's a lot of them, too. Mad Catz, NOS Energy Drink, Treyarch, Sprint Phones. I mean, I don't see where they're getting any sort of an ROI from associating with GGL and this shoddy run tournament. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And this could have ramifications later on with more sponsors coming into sponsoring competitive gaming. If they see like what's happening with these tournaments, how they're being run, they might not come and grow gaming, and then gaming will stun its growth and just forever be what it is.
Well, I wouldn't be that negative about it, but certainly we need better tournaments. Of course, the other argument is that you just can't do it online without streaming and spectating and a lot of other things that really help ensure the fairness and legitimacy of the competition. But, I mean, at the end of the day, that's something that GGL will have to deal with. And I'm just glad that Doug came on the show and shared with us his experiences, because I think it is a reminder to us that that kind of activity ends up isolating competitive gamers and giving them a bad name.
Let's jump over to some other competitive gaming news. In who's becoming kind of a regular here on the show, VV Titan Tristan Johnson back once again to lend us a little bit of Starcraft knowledge. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing just well. Glad to be back again.
Oh, yeah, like I said, it's becoming kind of the norm. So give us an update. What's going on in the world of VV Starcraft and Starcraft 2 in general?
Well, right now, it's kind of been a slow week for StarCraft 2 because there's only one tournament going on, and that's SCL, which unfortunately we lost this week 4-2 to NRG, but that's okay. We're going to win next time without a problem. We didn't know how some of their players played, but upon analyzing the replays, we know how to counter them, so that's going to be no problem. And good news this week, we had Murder once again bringing home a bunch of tournament victories. Let's take a look at EP tournament. He took first there, defeating DDE 3-0. And if you do not know who DDE is, right now he's winning a lot of tournaments. He won VT twice. He beat me in the Hypercrew. He's a very solid player. And for Murder to go out there and just 3-0 him, makes our team so happy. It's like a nice little overall cheer going on in there.
And Tristan, to be sure, when you say DDE, this is NRG's DDE, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
This is in this tournament, if I remember correctly, Murder open against Firezerg from Complexity, correct? And then he ended up beating our VVV time in the quarterfinals. Played, was it Jix from VT?
I believe it was, yeah.
And then finally he did 3-0 against DDE, right?
Yeah.
That was an awesome, awesome run. But please, continue.
All right, I will. Yeah, Murder, he's quite a beast right now. He also got second in the VT Open, and I believe he lost to DDE in that one 3-1, something like that. And then as for myself, I played in the Hypercrew, knocking out everybody pretty much all the way to the finals, not dropping a game. And then I lost to DDE 3-1, and that's because I didn't know he was a one-base type player in it. And I wasn't really expecting it. And also, the little discrepancy in the rules where he was allowed to change races to get the advantage on me. Though most tournaments, they don't allow you to change races, so that kind of sucked. Other than that, it was a really good week for VPV, really showing that we are a top tier and a very, very strong team.
Now, Tristan, everybody I don't think knows that you really haven't been able to dedicate your full time to StarCraft 2. You're working still, right? Tell us about your job situation and how that may change over the next month or so.
It's going to be great news. My work is actually going to be closing in a month, and, I really don't need the income from it. I'm doing well without it. So, when that's gone, man, I'm going to dominate everybody in North America. Like, right now, there's no question I'm the best Zerg and stuff like that, but in about a month, it's just going to be ridiculously a lot of practice time going and winning a lot of tournaments, and it's going to be very, very nice.
Tristan, you have a passion and enthusiasm that I think that is infectious, so really glad to hear that. Tell us what's coming up. What's the next big thing for the VVV crew?
All right, for this week, we're going into our third week of the SCL, where we'll be playing against OD, which I think stands for Overdosed or something. We're expected to win that, so we're going to definitely jump into first place in that league. And other than that, it's just going to be like weekly tournaments and everything like that, and we're going to take first. That's always the goal, and that's what we're going to do in whatever tournaments we can.
Speaking of taking first, now, just so you know, a week ago I was at this convention here in Orlando called Ultronicon, and I met this player from Orlando. I guess his name is Cecil, and he's apparently somebody that's pretty decent at the game, and apparently there's going to be a tournament out this way in Orlando, and, I live out this way. Feel like taking a road trip down this way, and we can go kick some ass together? Be good fun.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've been reading that on the TL forums recently about a big Orlando land, and I knew it was ran by Cecil, an old Warcraft 3 commentator, and oh man, I've been waiting for a land in Florida for so long just to go out and just, kick some ass. Sounds great.
Awesome. We'll carpool over there. It'll be good times, my man. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that's awesome that you guys will be able to finally meet. I think we will know by next week, is my suspicion, where the MLG stops are, and I'm going to assume again MLG Dallas. Who do we know for sure is going to be going to MLG Dallas from VVV Gaming?
Oh, that's a good question. From what we've been talking about recently, we know that myself and Murder are definitely going to be going. Angry said he would go if it'd be anywhere like New Jersey or New York, so since it's in Dallas, it's probably a no. I know Rigid's going to go because he's been saving up money to through his streaming and stuff. He's been getting advertisements to get enough money to fly out there and perform for us. And I believe Noxie Roar will be there, of course. And Time is a maybe as well, but I'm definitely expecting to see him there. So it's pretty much the whole A team, and it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't wait to meet you and actually everybody that I haven't met already, like Murder. I've met Time and Noxie and Roar, but you and Murder I especially look forward to meeting. So one final question, Tristan, before we let you go. To a lot of players who are new to StarCraft 2 that are coming into it, I get the question a lot, how do our top players like Titan and Time and how do they practice? So can you give somebody what a typical practice is like for you as you're preparing for an event or right after an event, how you go through replays and what you look for, and then how you plan to take your new knowledge and put it into practice?
Wow, that's a really, really good question because the first thing I want to say is not everybody practices the same way. I relate this the same as to playing like an instrument or something. If you want to get better at double tonguing, you'll practice slow tonguing and then eventually speed up. So it's the same way for practicing any type of computer game. You got to start from ground level and then work your way up. Like my way of practicing is to have custom maps made, and one of them I use is called a multitask trainer, to where I just take a probe and I run it from a Zergling the whole time, while at the same time executing my build orders to perfection and maxing out to 200 as fast as possible. And what that does is it works on my my ability to keep my supply up, keep my larva count low, and to make sure I'm multitasking all these tasks. It's just one piece of the puzzle to put everything together. And so then I'll take another map, and then I'll work on something else. As for Murder, his type of practice is to watch a lot of replays. He studies replays every day. I swear, every single time I log on, he's just there watching a replay, trying to figure out the matchup, learning every single type of playstyle he can play against, and that's how he practices. As for Time, he plays a lot of games. Oh my gosh, and he has very unorthodox strategies, and I think that's where he finds his most success, practicing weird things to throw his opponent off.
Good information. So those of you out there who've asked, I have now asked Titan, so you understand replays being important. Titan, who has a very formulaic approach to making sure that he's perfected his strategies. And then obviously Time, who I think for a lot of gamers coming into it, they're probably doing very much what Time's strategy is, which is a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation to see what works.
Well, Titan, we'd like to thank you for coming on the show. As always, it's a pleasure. Give a lot of good information, and we love you for it.
Oh, I love you too.
Now on to some Black Ops news. Our team Motivation, who just won their first round 3-0 against Bullets Don't Lie. And the big news is in the 2v2 finals, Temptation and Clove just beat Against 2 Ready 2-0.
Yeah, Motivation is a really good team. I think a lot of people don't know how good
our Call of Duty team is because they are a PlayStation 3 team. But they are number one coming into the brackets for the 25K ladder, and obviously they just played 2v2, as Ryan just mentioned, and won. So if you haven't checked out VV Motivation, I highly recommend it. And speaking of Major League Gaming news,
I don't know any of you. Have any of you guys got the MLG phone app?
I would love to have it, but I don't have an Android or an iPhone.
Jeez, I know, right? I think only one of us here has a smartphone. Jerry, do you have the MLG app?
What is that, like a setup? But yeah, of course I do. It's 99 cents. I have it on the Samsung Galaxy. What I really like about it is the news. It's got a really cool news feature. Lets you get game battles news, Major League Gaming news, or all news. And it also has like playlists and stuff like videos. All in all, I'm really happy with the MLG app. Is it worth 99 cents? I think if during events, Major League Gaming keeps all team scores updated on the app, it will be the best 99 cents you've ever spent. We'll have to see at the first event. We'll have to see what happens. But to be honest, at 99 cents, I think it's worth checking out. And speaking of Major League Gaming, I also want to mention that for those that don't know already, which you should, V3 settings will include Sprint. That's official. Major League Gaming made that ruling a few days ago, at the end of last week. So, fan or not, Sprint is here to stay. Ryan, you're not a fan, are you?
I'm not a fan, but, at the same time, I'm going to wait till V3 settings are set in stone because I know they're going to be making changes to placements of objects on the map. They're going to be changing flag times, like where it's not instant return, which will really help out for if they want to keep Sprint. But one of the biggest things, in my opinion, if they want to keep Sprint, is if they're not going to have touch return on the flags, they need to make it so you start off with Sprint right away instead of that delay. The delay really is dumb to me right now, but it made sense with touch return on flags.
Well, a lot of people have waited on this. I feel like it's one of these subjects that to me has been beaten to death. Major League Gaming has made its ruling, and to me, I think, you know what? It's been said, it's done. Let's not make a big deal about it.
Exactly. Get over it and play, or don't. Whatever. Move on or continue.
Speaking of playing games, let's go over to some games that I'm more familiar with, the rhythm gaming side of things. If you haven't had the chance, VV Dan just started out this new video series called Methods That Work. It's actually going to detail how to hit really hard sections in the Guitar Hero / Rock Band series. Really cool. His first test run of this new show is up in the forums. Go check it out. It's a really neat idea. He covered the song Calling, which even though I personally have 100%ed the song before, there's one part that I really kind of just bullshitted my way through. And after listening to his explanation of how to hit this part, it made perfect sense. The next time I played it, I hit it instantly. So really cool. If you haven't had the chance, go check it out. Really cool new series. Great idea from VV Dan.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've taken a look, the picture-in-picture, the sort of technique. I felt that Dan really knows how to create a video to help people. And Dan has a very rational mind, so that sort of logical structure is really in the video, and I think it makes for a good instructional video. So as I said, I'm also a fan. Methods That Work. If you want to learn how to full combo a song, this is the way to do it. And this brings us about to the end of our show. I want to thank both of you, Jason and Ryan, again. As always, Ryan, I hope you feel better. I am a little envious, Jason, that you and Tristan will be able to hang out at a LAN event, which I think would be a blast. So it's good that you guys will get a chance to meet. But for everybody, Beta 5 for Rift starts Tuesday. So as you're listening to this, the Rift Beta 5 is going on. Expect an enormous presence from the VV community inside Rift. I think this is the MMO that will, in many ways, be that sleeper that gains momentum, and I think is going to be a lot more popular than most anyone else imagined. The developers really understand what they're doing. It's refreshing to see the kind of thinking and transparency that Tryon has put into the way they develop, the way they interact with the community, and the way they have really listened
and explained the decisions they've made. It's one of these that I think a lot of people have been burned in MMOs before. It's why people keep coming back to WoW. It's just got enough people that there's something going on. And a lot of times people have been hopeful for something that will take off and be really strong. Ion did it for a while before it was grindy. Warhammer did it for a while before, in many people's opinions, the developers did not make the changes needed to keep balance in the game. Trion has knowledge about some of the things that have gone wrong. Looks like they're being very proactive about making sure that they address them early and they're transparent. If you haven't tried Rift, I highly recommend it, and I hope to see many of you in the beta. And with that, gentlemen, this brings us to the end.
Oh, but yes, it does. And as always, we have to give a big thanks to the VV sponsors: SteelSeries, Control Freak, MusicSins.com, GameBeLogos.net, and of course, last but not least, Custom Ink. One big shout out as well: Power Glove, the band that supplies our intro and outro music. If you have not had the chance, go check them out. Saturday Morning Apocalypse, their newest album. Awesome stuff. Thanks to the VV community. Thanks to Sons of Justice for stopping by. Tristan, VV Titan. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show this week. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. That's vvgaming.podbean.com. Also, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or Zune Marketplace. Just search for VV Gaming. That way you can follow both of our shows, Directional Influence, which is our Smash Brothers show, and the show that you're listening to right now, The Losers Bracket. Email us. The address is thelosersbracket@vv-gaming.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, where we are simply known as Losers Bracket.
Thanks for listening, guys. I do want to say I bought the album on iTunes from Power Glove, and it's amazing.
See you in Rift. Have a good one.